Welcome, dear watchers and faithful hearts, to a fresh, pulsating broadcast from Whispers of Turkish Stars, where glamour collides with reality and every heartbeat seems to echo across continents. Tonight the studio hums with the kind of hush that comes before a thunderclap, the moment when a calm sky hints at lightning, and a single decision can alter a public image forever. We stand at the intersection of stardom and human boundaries, a crossroads that has jarred not one but two nations, and the question trembling on everyone's lips is chillingly simple: where does devotion end, and where does the right to physical safety begin? Before we plunge into the whirlwind, make sure you're part of our family by subscribing, tapping that like if you believe respect is the real red carpet, and ringing the bell so you never miss a beat. For those who carry us through storms with unwavering support, the join button glows like a backstage light waiting to be switched on. Because tonight, we peel back the glitter to reveal the bruise beneath it. Gökberk Demirci, the brooding heartthrob whose quiet intensity and dignified charm have turned premieres into pilgrimages, finds his name inscribed at the center of a maelstrom that has nothing to do with box office numbers or award speeches. Not a dazzling premiere, not a record-breaking contract, but a flash of chaos in Spain is dragging him into the fiercest glare he's felt in years. What started as a routine arrival to tape a high-profile television appearance erupted, in the space of a breath, into a storm that seized timelines, pierced headlines, and brought uncertainty to every corner where his fans gather and whisper apologies to each other. And because destiny seems to relish a duet, the tremor reached Özge as well, the luminous partner whose poise softens every rumor and whose presence beside him has often felt like an anchor in turbulent tides. Let us retrace the evening the way the internet now keeps replaying it. The show ended, the applause faded, and outside the studio doors in Spain, the night air was thick with anticipation. Fans had waited for hours, letters folded into palm-sized hopes, gifts wrapped in satin ribbons, camera flashes trembling against the dusk. Security lines blurred under the pressure of bodies pressed forward, voices overlapping, and the kind of adoration that can turn into a tide before anyone realizes it. Gökberk stepped into the corridor of cries and cameras, a wave of phones lifted like a glistening canopy, and from this swirling crush a figure surged, a fan inches from his face, a mouth lunging toward a kiss that had not been asked for and had not been granted. The clip has been viewed millions of times. The angles change, the result does not. In a split second, reflex took the wheel. Gökberk seized the woman's wrists and pulled her away with a sharp, firm motion that left no room for negotiation. Those who defend him point to fear, to survival, to startled muscle memory when a stranger's breath collides with your own. Those who condemn him call it harsh, say a global star owes his public a gentler hand even in chaos. The video has ignited Spain, a country where sensitivity surrounding the treatment of women and the conduct of famous men sits like a live wire in the social consciousness. And with every replay, the debate burrows deeper, turning living rooms into panels and comment sections into courts. It would be enough drama for a week if the story stopped there, but reputation has a long memory and gossip has a longer one. Inevitably, the wheel of time rolled backward, dragging into the light an older Spanish memory many had quietly shelved. Years ago, during an interview, a light-hearted banter about backstage selfies came off as flippant to some, almost teasingly cavalier to others, and the clip became a whisper that grew teeth. Back then, the moment cooled with time and an apology wrapped in humility, the kind that sounds like a hand extended rather than raised. Now comparisons multiply like sparks landing on dry grass. The whispers claim a pattern. The loyalists insist it's a collage of unrelated seconds. In studios across Spain, presenters rewatched the footage, pausing at frames, magnifying gestures, reading intention from flickers that lasted less than a blink. Commentators called it a litmus test of modern celebrity, a test of patience and training and the split-second virtue of restraint. Does someone adored by millions relinquish the right to sudden recoil when a stranger invades the most private of distances? Or does the public figure's halo demand superhuman calm even when the body warns of danger? The microphone swung from angle to angle, but no single answer satisfied everyone. And then there is Özge, quiet and present like the steady note beneath a crescendo. Though she was steps away, shielded by security and swallowed by the crowd, her name has been invoked as a counterweight in nearly every discussion. Fans point to her grace as proof that this couple, as a unit, understands the duet between visibility and vulnerability. Critics argue that her serenity only sharpens the question around the forcefulness of his grip in that instant. Did the presence of a loved partner make the surprise sharper, the protective reaction stronger? Was it panic, instinct, or both? Within fan communities, the conversation has widened from a moment on a pavement to a portrait of a relationship always under the microscope, with Özge's quiet strength and Gökberk's measured reserve forming a public dance that can be inspiring and impossible in the same breath. Silence arrives next, the most deafening kind. No statement from their official accounts. No midnight posts delivering a neat timeline with captions framed by apology or explanation. No polished PR response from their representatives to settle nerves or reset the narrative. In some circles, this is considered a wise pause, a refusal to fan the fire when flames are licking at every headline. In others, it's seen as a misread of the moment, a delay that allows speculation to spin faster and harsher than any truth could travel. Crisis managers whisper about body language and adrenaline and the duty of stars to prepare for the unpredictable. Fans whisper about tenderness and boundaries and how fear does not ask for permission before it lashes the body into action. Behind velvet curtains, the rumor mill says, a strategy is forming. Friends of friends claim the defense is simple and human, a reflexive move in a suffocating crowd when a stranger attempted an uninvited kiss. The density of people, the surge of emotion, the gaps in security, the split-second shock, each detail stitched into a narrative that pleads context. But critics answer with their own chorus: a global name must be tutored in precision under pressure, must learn movements that create distance without leaving a mark, must turn fights into footwork. They say celebrity is not only a spotlight but a responsibility, that training extends beyond scripts to the choreography of escape routes and verbal shields. Online, the cultural tug-of-war has become all-consuming. One camp types with shaking hands that no one should be kissed or grabbed or touched without consent, not by a fan, not by anyone, and that human dignity outranks autograph lines every time. Another declares that the ardor of adoration, while imperfect, is the very oxygen of fame, and that a star's reaction must be tempered, that gratitude must be worn like armor even in heat. The hashtags collide and tangle, sympathy threads knotted with accusations, alongside photos of Özge smiling in calmer times and clips of Gökberk greeting crowds with open-handed warmth. Every minute without a statement becomes a pebble added to a scale that tilts differently depending on who is counting. Producers in Spain, always attuned to the tremors of opinion, are reportedly watching the needle. Some projects are in a holding pattern, they say, waiting to see if the tenor changes, if the couple steps forward with words that soothe the edge off the images. Others cling to the belief that sincerity will reset the room, that a thoughtful message can be more powerful than 100 edits. Will he step back from fans to build higher walls, or step closer with boundaries spelled out like a contract? Will she speak first, in that soft, deliberate tone that has turned confessions into balm? Or will they speak together, presenting a united front as luminous as their on-screen chemistry has always been off-screen real? What reverberates most, perhaps, is how swiftly a few seconds have hardened into a frame that threatens to hang, stubbornly, in the gallery of their story. The couple's arc, often told in soft colors, reconciliations and renewals, the delicate tension between public adoration and private sanctuary, now has a jagged new panel. It shows what happens when the line between love and trespass blurs in a crowd that confuses proximity with permission. It shows the human flinch beneath the famous face. And it challenges everyone to ask themselves, not only what they expect from the adored, but what the adored are allowed to expect from those who adore them. You are the pulse of this conversation, whispers of Turkish stars family. Tell us, from the quiet of your rooms or the rush of your commute. Does celebrity cancel the right to recoil when a stranger steps in? Was Gökberk's reaction a frightened, protective snap of muscle, or a too sharp answer to a messy moment? And what about Özge's role in this night? Does her calm carry the lesson, or is her silence another branch of the same storm? We read everything, we weigh it all, and we ask that your words carry the same respect you want mirrored back at you. And if this kind of deep dive into the mercy and menace of fame matters to you, tap join to help us keep this light steady when the winds start to howl. The next move will be a pivot on a chessboard where each square is wired to the public mood. A single phrase, measured, sincere, could start the healing, turn yesterday into a cautionary tale and not a defining one. A misstep, a defensive tone, or more days of silence might carve the phrase Spain's second case into the plaque beneath his name, or worse, beneath theirs. This is how image works in our era. it either softens quickly under the warmth of humility, or it hardens like glass left in winter air. The lesson of crisis management is not only about timing but also about texture, words that feel like hands unclenched rather than fists reformed. There is, as always, the echo of that earlier Spanish flashpoint. Backstage jokes about selfies and the gray space between playfulness and misunderstanding were once the hot coals beneath their steps. Back then, a careful apology cooled the embers. Today, that memory returns reborn as a cautionary lantern, lighting the current path with the reminder that audiences keep archives in their pockets. Every pattern the public thinks it sees becomes more vivid with each looped clip, each frame slowed to frame-by-frame judgment. Fair or not, this is the arena. And in this arena, perception is a tide that can lift or drown, depending on how quickly and honestly you learn to swim. In the midst of this, we remember that Özge and Gökberk became beloved not merely for their beauty but for the way they turned scenes into confessions. Their chemistry has been a promise, their interviews a lesson in restraint, their separate successes plated into a shared myth that fans want to protect as much as they wish to share. Perhaps this is why the crowd felt so combustible. Adoration can mistake itself for ownership. Perhaps this is why his response looks different to different eyes. Fear can disguise itself as force, and force can look like fear, and video cannot record heartbeats. So we wait. We listen. We refresh. We imagine the glow of a phone lighting a dark room, the quiet drafting of a statement, the back and forth over tone, word choice, and responsibility. Maybe the message will be simple, a human apology, an explanation of reflex, a renewed commitment to firm boundaries expressed with gentle words. Maybe it will include a note to security teams and organizers, a reminder that crowds need choreography too. Maybe Özge will add a line about how love protects without wounding, how dignity can be guarded without breaking another's dignity. Maybe the words will rise like a bridge instead of a wall. And until that message arrives, we hold this story up to the light. We acknowledge the sting of the moment and the truth at its core. Consent is not a courtesy, it is the rule. We acknowledge the burden of fame and the impossible standard fans sometimes set for those they love. We acknowledge the fright that comes when a stranger crosses a line that should have been inviolable. And we acknowledge the possibility that a star can be both wrong in method and right in instinct, both victim of intrusion and agent of a reaction that looked too sharp to those watching from home. These are not contradictions, they are the messy strands of a single rope. Whispers of Turkish Stars will keep a vigilant eye on this unfolding drama and bring you the first official word the moment it lands, whether from him, from her, or from the team that steers their public path. Our promise to you is to hold space for nuance, to refuse the easy narrative when the truth is textured, and to remind everyone that celebrities are not armored myths. They are people moving through rooms to the sound of 1,000 voices, trying to find the door without bumping into the furniture. Tell us what you would say to Gökberk if you had one measured breath to offer. Tell us what you would say to the fan whose sudden approach set the night on edge. And tell us what you want to hear from Özge, whose calm might yet be the compass that leads them out of this fog. If you value careful storytelling in the midst of clamor, tap like, subscribe to keep this conversation alive, and consider joining to help us continue bringing you the human truth underneath the glitter. For now we step back, but not away, and we wait for that first sentence from their side to land. Because sometimes one sincere paragraph can hush a storm, and sometimes silence invites a second one. Until the next heartbeat in this evolving tale, remember to treasure your space and honor the space of others, and remember also that even those who shine brightest need room to breathe. This is Whispers of Turkish Stars, signing off for tonight, with eyes on Spain, and ear to your voices, and hope that the next chapter is written with tenderness and care.